everything that is stressing you and giving you anxiety and depression and the reason why you're doing these things is because you need to go and you need to tackle some issues that you don't know why these trigger points are happening, dude. So I had to go through to see a therapist. I was like, I'm finally doing this.
Yeah.
Research this dude. And that was like, I'm talking like 3 or 4 or 5 sessions in. It was like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why every time I hear this or see this or feel this, it's exactly why that switch turns on, because it's always turned on. I don't know any different.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle that other than to do this. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I always thought like, dude, the therapist has never been what I've been through.
Yeah.
It's all about your brain.
Yeah.
And when you hear this or smell this or feel this, what switches actually go on? And if you're aware of it, you can keep them off.
What's up? This is episode 10 of the Seed Time and Harvest podcast. And I can't believe we're at episode 10 already, man. Like, that's crazy. So pretty cool. But we wanted to continue last episode and chat about the man you see in the mirror. I think that was a good conversation. And I know for me, there's been definitely times when I haven't been, we talked about being authentic. When I haven't been authentic to myself, that dude's hard to look at. When I know I'm doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, it's like, if the world's telling you, me as a football player, like, I got to hook up with these girls and I got to do this and I got to drink all the time, but yet, like, I feel guilty about all that stuff. And I think you can suppress your conscience. I think we're all innately given that. And I did that for a lot of years. But every morning you wake up like, I mean, yeah, I was the life of the party last night and I did this, but I'm not feeling good about it today. But then why do you go back to doing it again, right?
It's so fun.
Yeah.
In the time.
If it's fun
while
while it
you're
lasts,
doing
but
it.
then once it's over, you know, the party's going to die eventually, you know? For me, I wasn't able to look at myself in the mirror. It was like, I know I'm not meant to be doing this stuff. And I remember there was one night I was high and drunk in the bar, and I literally heard Holy Spirit tell me, like, you're not supposed to be here. And I remember getting freaked out, like, started banging shots and just to kind of like quiet that voice, because I knew I wasn't aligned. That wasn't aligned with who I'm meant to be in the path that I'm supposed to take.
You have a high tolerance too.
Oh, dude, when I was in the when
You
I was in it,
I mean, even when we drank at the Christmas party a few years ago, I was like, "Oh, Nate could throw him down."
I got some 10,000 hours in that world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I remember looking at pictures of myself back in the day, and I was just so puffy, just like full of inflammation and all that stuff. But yet, like, I performed at a high level, so it was hard to, like.
That's the trick.
You know, but you think about it looking back, like, well, where could you have gone if you were living right? So, anyways, dude, talk about that real quick. Like, what were the times like where you couldn't look at yourself in the mirror?
Oh God, I mean, date all the way back to high school, right? Because I was living, you know, if you came in like 4 different periods of my life, you know, where, you know, I can remember exactly when they started and I remember exactly when they ended, right? These growth phases of things that I was doing or people I was around. But in high school, you know, I, for some reason, chose this like really weird lifestyle, that like private lifestyle. Like, I mean, it was a total like double life, you know, where I would go to school and be one person, and I would go home in front of my mom and be a totally different person there. And then when I was with the people I was with doing the things I was doing, I was that person. And I loved the adrenaline. I loved the fighting. I loved all the stuff that I would get into. And it was just something that like became an addiction. And it wasn't like on drugs or alcohol. Like, I would drink in high school and stuff and party here and there with like on some of the weekend parties, but I wasn't just like, I wasn't like that. It was more, I was addicted to adrenaline, and there were multiple times in high school, and it never really happened while it was happening. It always happened like when there was like some, you know, teacher would pull me aside and be like, what's going on with you? Like, you haven't turned in one piece of homework in a whole semester or something. And I would be like, what? And I would have to like, well, in order for you to graduate, Alex, you're going to have to, and then I would snap out of it. Right. And go to work and make sure I could get past this class or do after school programs or summer school. Dude, I had so much stuff, but through high school, there were multiple times. And when you say, it's interesting when you say this, and I think a lot of people can relate, like when you can't look yourself in the mirror. It's an actual thing. It's a mirror, your mirror in your bathroom or in your room or whatever that you're looking at, and you don't like what you see and what you're doing, who you're becoming. But as I got out of like my younger days and, you know, traveled and did a bunch of wild shit and then kind of came into my marriage early on at 22, I really liked that person that I was from 22 to like maybe 24, 25. Like I had a good little 3-4 year run there.
Yeah.
And then I just went right back to old ways. And a lot of it had to do with women. Right. And, you know, would never boast or brag about that. I used to. And that's not something I don't think anyone should be proud of because you're able to go and lie and cheat and sneak around. Like that's a miserable way to live your life, right? Yeah. It hurts people, hurts yourself, it hurts the person you're with, it hurts the families. It like you don't realize it until you get older, what it really does. But the last time that I was really sitting there and looking myself in the mirror was probably it was my first few years in real estate because I was able to party and carry on and do things I shouldn't have been doing and still perform at a high level. So the trick was that the devil plays on you is somehow you're still able to accomplish all these things and you're not doing the right things. So you have this like skewed perception of what you should and shouldn't be doing because, well, it's not affecting me. Yeah. I'm winning. I'm doing well. I'm not like overdosing or getting DUIs or do it like I could live like this. This is what happens when you're in the big leagues. You're around these people, you do these things, right? And then something usually will happen and you hit rock bottom. But there were multiple times when I would go look in the mirror and just be like, why are you this person? What is it? I mean, to the point where you're, whether it's prayer or you know, you're the universe or stars or whatever you're believing in and aligning with, and you're usually at odds spiritually. Then you're whether you're doubting God or your faith, or you know, you don't know where to turn because clearly this isn't God's path. Clearly this isn't the righteous path. Yeah, you're not putting out the right energy. If you do believe in like karma and just energy and not God, you're just believing in what you put out, you receive, which is true. Yeah, but like. I went through countless nights. I can't even tell you how many nights that I looked in the mirror and water on my face, trying to come down and be a normal person. And I couldn't, you know, and then I would be like, okay, today's the day I'm going to stop and be a different guy. And whether it was a martini that set me off or a deal that blew up or a fight I got into, you know, with my spouse or, you know, something that I would always use it as an excuse to go and whether it would be, you know, womanizing or to seek that affirmation, which was usually my drug of choice. Yeah. Right. And then, you know, or booze or something else. And it's like, you can't, whether what you're choosing, it's not the right choice. And you're going to end up sitting on the end of some bed feeling like you're like literally like this is the worst possible thing I could have done. It's like murder. Yeah. Or you're going to be hungover, or you're going to be less productive, or you're going to risk death because you did some drug that you could have literally just died. Right. And so like going through that, and I had to go through it privately. I never went to anyone for help. I never went to a therapist. I never went to my business partners because I didn't want my partners to think I was weak or not okay. Yeah. I didn't go to my parents because I'm like, it's not their problem. I don't want them to worry. I definitely didn't go to my spouse because I was like, most of the stuff that I was doing I would have ended up divorced. And so I was like, how do I handle this? How do I get out of this? So I fought this, you know, privately for years, you know, probably couple years every single day, all day. Yeah. I was, you know, and then I would just pretend I was okay, which pretending you're okay is the most absolutely exhausting thing you can do on your spirit. Right. So it was, you know, but then I climbed out of it truly just devoting my life to the kids. Yeah. Devoting my life to sobriety, devoting my life to the gym and took the boxing fight in 2018, because I was like, I need something bigger than me. To me, it was always, I need something way bigger than me because I'm failing me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to fail a little kid. And I'm not going to fail my spouse at the time. I'm not going to fail my business partners. But then when you really take another step back and go, well, I am failing them. They just don't know. Oh man, that ownership. Coming to the realization that everything that is stressing you and giving you anxiety and depression and the reason why you're doing these things is because you need to go and you need to tackle some issues that you don't know why these trigger points are happening, dude. So I had to go through to see a therapist. I was like, I'm finally doing this.
Yeah.
Research this dude. And that was like, I'm talking like 3 or 4 or 5 sessions in. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why every time I hear this or see this or feel this, it's exactly why that switch turns on, because it's always turned on. I don't know any different feeling. I don't know how to handle that other than to do this. And once you realize that, and that's what I'm a huge advocate for therapy.
Same.
And I wasn't. I always thought like, dude, the therapist has never been what I've been through.
Yeah.
So I would even ask whatever therapist I tried to sit with in my life, have you ever gone through A, B, or C? You ever seen this before? Have you ever dealt with that before? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, how could you possibly help me? And I'm like, they went to school and studied this for years to help someone like me, right? And so it's all about your brain.
Yeah.
And when you hear this or smell this or feel this, what switches actually go on? And if you're aware of it, you can keep them off.
Well, like the substances keep you from being aware.
Oh.
Like it says, take every thought captive, right?
Oh, man.
And it's like, that's the battlefield right there. It's like it says, the enemy walks about as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, not whom he will. It's like you have to give him access to your mind in order to go down that road. And to me, like the sober piece is huge, right?
It's the biggest part.
As soon as you start to clear up, like as soon as you face that man in the mirror, you have to turn around and face it, and then you start figuring out like why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like why am I wearing this mask?
Yep.
And like that's a hard journey to go down. But the more you do it, the more you realize. And it's like once you're able to kind of look at that man in the mirror and be like, no, I'm proud of him. I told my wife the other day, I was like, I feel like the last year is the first time I've ever seen myself and been like proud of it. Like I actually like my body, and not because I've changed my body so much. It's not because I'm 4% body fat. I'm not right now. Like I'm probably, I don't know, 9, 10, whatever it is, meaning like I could improve. I thought I had to be this certain, person. I watched Arnold Schwarzenegger's documentary.
It's legit, right?
Dude, so good. Highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. One of the things that really stuck out to me was he said even when he was Mr. Universe, the best body in the world, he didn't like who he saw. And he said it was all an act. All the bravado and all. I was like, dude, so you still got mass. And then you look at his life. He cheated on his wife. He had a kid with his nanny or something like that.
His nanny, yep.
And I'm like, well, what were you trying to fulfill by doing that? Like here's a man who literally has everything. He's got the money. He's a movie star, all this stuff, but yet he still hasn't killed it. And I watched his documentary and also the Sly Stallone.
Did you watch
one.
Slice?
Yep.
Legit,
It was interesting. Both of them are in their 70s now and both filled with regret.
Yep.
They're like, I should have spent more time with my kids. I pursued all this. It's like you see their family lives.
Slice was sad, actually.
Yeah, dude. Really sad. And they're kind of in shambles. It's like these men that like a lot of people look to, like, I want to be like him. But do you really? Like what does it gain a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? It's like you can get all the wealth, the fame, the publicity, but like what's wealth without love, right? Like what's money without peace? If you got all the money but you had to do stuff you can't look at yourself in the mirror about, what is it? So that's one thing I'm really thinking about, man, is like what other masks am I wearing that I don't see yet? That like are areas of my life. And I think that's where fasting comes into play so much. I think that's why it's such a powerful tool, why every religion tells you to do it, whether it's Muslim
I'm hungry
or Christian
right now.
Well, like it slows you down. It makes your mind slow down. When you're not thinking about what's my next meal, it's like it gives you time to really process this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it's such a great discipline, such a great tool. Goes into all the different things that we've talked about. And so I wasn't even going to go down that road, but like, I know I need to go on another one because it's like, I'm feeling like this, but then what are you supposed to do on a fast? You're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to tell someone, oh, look at me. I did 2 days.
You're going to break it.
Exactly. It's the spiritual discipline, you know, but
God, what a trip. I was thinking of the Sly and Arnold call out, because those two actors were, I mean, we're like when we were kids, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we could throw in like Jean-Claude Van Damme and some others. Like, you had this image of like men and like masculinity and what it was, and like the how fit they were and what they did and the disciplines they went through. And it's funny because I watched the Sly documentary, and he was, you know, packing up his house, this iconic residence he's had for years.
Yeah.
Right. And he's spent his whole career there. And then he's got this beautiful family, right, that he just was obsessed over his work to create his legacy, right? Like, you can't go anywhere in the world and say Sylvester Stallone or Rocky, and people are like, yeah, I know that,
exactly.
who that is. So he created this, like, his legacy will live on for generations. Like, once we're dead and gone, like, Sly will be there forever, right? Like the Tupac, Sly's, Arnold's, like, dude, they built these legacies, but at what sacrifice, right? And so I did this little exercise with the kids, and I think I was talking to you about this, and where I look at these like amazing houses, and I know I don't want the house. We've talked about this. I don't want the house because I want to live in a mansion. I want the house because I want to be able to bring all my loved ones there, but I still want my space. Like, so I would love a 15,000 square foot house and have my little brother and my mom and my dad, and just be like, I just take care of everyone.
Yeah.
That's a dream of mine. But then when you really look at a house that costs that much, and especially us and being in this industry, you know what kind of money you need to make. And in order to make that kind of money, you know what type of time you need to sacrifice. Because you can go in real estate, you can go make that $4 or $5 million a year. You can, but at what cost, right? And so I was watching Suits with my daughter. For some reason, Mulan like loves watching Suits. She loves it, and we were watching it, and they were in Harvey's like penthouse, and she saw like some of the other homes and the way they lived and the money that they were making, and she was like, "Man, like they're rich, you know," and blah blah blah. And I said, yeah, I mean, did you want me to go back to working the way that they work? Because she always mentions how late they're at the office on the show. She's like, look, they're still at the office in the show. And I'm like, they are obsessed.
Yeah.
That's why. And there's healthy obsessions, and then there's obsessions that you just sacrifice everything else. Even if you're just providing for your family and you've got trust funds set up for them or whatever, you're still going to be remembered as the dad that, he provided better than anyone we've ever had in our life. Look at our cars and our things and our careers but they really just want your time. So I asked her, like, well, do you want me to go out and get those things? I was like, Daddy can go get it. I'm telling you right now, I have the infrastructure to go and build a life like that. But some things are going to change. She was like, yeah, like this. She's 15 years old, and she said, yeah, like this will change. Meaning like us sitting there and watching Suits, hanging out, won't exist anymore. And she's seen me in that space before. And so it's like, and I showed Haley this house in Cherry Hill, still my favorite house I've ever seen on the internet in Colorado. I think it's still for sale. It's like $9 million. Just to me would be like, this is it. Like, I would love this to be my life forever and live there and have everything you possibly needed there. And you can bring your family there. And they've got the pool house that's 2,200 square feet that your siblings could, or your father could live in, or your in-laws could come stay in, like everything that you possibly. And she was just like, what would that even take? And so I kind of broke down for her, this is what I would have to do. And even she was like, I wouldn't want you to do that. You're not going to be in Elle's life. Your kids are going to, you're not going to know what Mulan's up to. You're not going to know what Jet's up to. So you can go get those things, but then you look at Sly, you look at Arnold, these people that have them. I would probably bet that most of the wealthy people that the balance that they have is just it's like tilts completely just to work and obsessing over money and deals and going, and they're just constantly there. They're never present with their kids and family. They try to be, but you're never really there, and so you sacrifice all this, and then maybe when you're done one day, you go back and you try to recoup all this. But that's the one thing that money can't buy is that time.
But what if that's a lie, bro? Meaning that I have to sacrifice my family in order to get that. What if there's a different way? And what I'm
trying to figure it out.
What I'm leading to is, what if God wants you to have that life, but in order to show others what He can do through you? And that's one thing I've been thinking of.
The more you help people get it.
Yeah, like what if the more you trust, the more you're able to get, you know? But you have to give credit to the person who brought it to you. Not saying I got this. I think that's the lie. I remember, you know, I won't call his name out, but one of the people in our office here, he told me, I set my goal my first year to make $500,000. He said, well, you're gonna have to work 17 hours a day. And my instant thought was, no way, I don't have to do that. And I didn't get that my first year because I didn't have the seed time and harvest yet. But I'm gonna get that this year, you know, and the thing I'm leading to
with a great quality of life.
Yeah. I had this literally happened this morning. I had a client reach out and say, hey, can I see you home at 10? It's my son's 3rd birthday today. We gave him a new bike, all this stuff. Like, and my in-laws were coming over. They're going to have a little party. Like, I was like, no, I'm not missing that. I said, I can meet you at 11. And I did. I met him at 11. I'm going to write a contract for him this afternoon. All that stuff. Great. But like, and then my next thought was, he's worth a ton. He sent me he's a cash buyer. He sent me his proof of funds, and it's significant, like 20 million in just a couple investment accounts. You're like, he could pay for this house like right now if he wanted to, but he's teaching his kids how to buy a home, and that's what I know he's doing through this process. But I was like, even if he was writing a cash offer on that home in Cherry Hills, 9 million, I wouldn't sacrifice my time with my kids. And then my next thought after I said that to myself was, is that true? Like, would I really hold myself to that? And I believe, yes, I would. Because if I don't set boundaries with that, that's showing that I'm willing to sacrifice time with my kids in order to get, and like, it's good, right? I can, like, that's a pretty significant commission right there. I could do a lot of stuff with that. But like, what kind of precedent am I setting then? Like, what am I also willing to compromise on in order to get that? And so like, the road I'm going down now is, what if I learn to trust more, and then that is enabling to get me more? You know, like, I met a Zillow client yesterday. Their exact home they're looking for is a listing that I have coming up in 2 weeks. So I could double land that. I didn't do that. Like, that's my Heavenly Father working through me. You know, this listing I got was because I listed another home up in Dillon through your friend. And now they fired me off that listing. Well, didn't fire me. We terminated it, but they said, we still want to use you. And I'm like, okay, we'll see if that really happens. But they are. And so my point is like, I'm just focusing on trusting. And it's like, the more I trust, the more it keeps showing up. And like,
when you say trusting, what, trusting God?
Trusting God, bro. Like, I refuse to worry. I'm not going to stay and worry, but I know, like, I have more expenses than I've ever had. I have 3 kids. We just bought a new home. We got this and all this stuff. But yet, like, I'm still further ahead. I'm still going to keep giving. I'm still going to keep doing this. And it just keeps showing up. And I'm like, what's the end of this road? I don't know. But I'm going to keep going down it. And so I really think, and one of my things coming into real estate was like, I want to change the game. I see so many people in real estate. What's the cliche? Are you busy? What does that mean? You're doing deals, right? But what does everyone take that to mean? Like, you have no family life, your phone's ringing off the hook all the time. Like, what if there's a better way? What if you just trust that the deals are going to show up? Because guess what? I have Zillow. I can always pull that lever, you know, but I don't need to take 40 calls a week. Like, what if I take 3, but I close all 3 of those? And yeah, I have to do my job of showing up ready, showing my value, proving that I'm the best agent for you. The same guy, he's buying for his kids. He called me after our first meeting. He goes, you know, I was just like basically vetting you. And he's a ex-commercial real estate guy. They have a $5 million home in South Carolina right now. So he's been very successful. But he's like, I want to know that you're going to treat my kids right. And who knows what comes from this as well. That's the other piece of it is like, you never know in this game who someone knows.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got 2 referrals from the company that I use closing gifts for. I didn't do that. Like my Heavenly Father just keeps providing. And that's like, man, that's what I get excited about. Like how can we truly change the game? How can we build a team that has that mentality?
That and I do think like with like where our team is, right? And like the Zillow conversation and Realtor.com, like I believe that just recently, because like I'll say this because you probably hear me say this to the team here soon, is we've been so focused on like the conversation about Zillow, this metrics, calls, transfers, everything else, that I think we're getting away from like that's just a platform that's providing us opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's not why we're doing this. We're not doing this for them, for their Fortune 500 company. Like we're partners with them, and we're just lucky enough to be getting these connections so we can stay in this game.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we do need to change the mentality of our organization where it's not metrics driven. It's not everyone worried about their commissions in this weird lawsuit. It's not. It's just, why are you doing this, and how are we going to get you better? And let's take it and grow your career this way.
Yeah.
Because shifting the mentality and the mindset of like, this is going to keep coming as long as you keep saying yes.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep delivering great experience, you're going to get more and more and more. But let's start molding these careers differently, right? Because not everyone has our mindset. They're very transactional. It's one call, one deal, and then they go into, the autopilot, and they kind of shut off, and they just worry about this one deal, and then that one's over, and they're on the next one, and they're on the next one, and they're not looking up and building a life. They're just trying to stay employed and have some type of career and pay their bills, and how to teach everyone how to dream and show a path to that through everything we're doing, and where these are just supplements.
Yeah.
You still have to put in all this work. Like you can take, peptides and TRT and do all this, but your body's not going to change if you're not at the gym putting the work in, and you're not fueling your body with the right nutrition, and you stop drinking and you did that. Like those are supplements. They're going to get you there a little faster. Yeah. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to recover better, but you still have to go put in all that work. These are just little injections that are helping you. Yeah. That's what Zillow is. And I think that we've gotten away from that as an organization because we keep getting that top-down pressure because we know that if we lose that account, like our lives are changing in here. Like all these, young lives, like your life won't change, my life won't change because we're just those people. We'll make it work. We're going to find a way to make it work no matter what platforms are giving us any lead. We're going to go get it. But I think that the mentality needs to change out here away from transfer rate and everything else, just knowing this is the play when this call comes in. But man, we need to get your mindset to where you're thinking bigger, because if you're in front of a client and you're thinking about them as people and you're thinking about where your career's going versus I just need to say these 5 things to you and I need to do this and I'm going to try, they're not in a natural state of what they're doing because all they're doing is thinking about everything that we're saying to them. So we do need to shift it to where to get a whole team that's, what are we doing this for? There's a much bigger why here. Yeah. And I think that goes back to charities and it goes back to giving and totally. even to getting to the point where we're just giving more to them, whether it be more commission, more, guidance, better structure about how to build your career. Because I think we've gotten a lot of the nuts and bolts down, but I think that they need more of how to build their career.
Gosh, dude. And, I think that's just like so many. It's just, and then this is like, we get a little snapshot of what the world is struggling with, right? And I was thinking about my dad. He's in town, and he's always said, like, I wanted to be a golf course architect. He said since he was 13, he had a clear vision of that, and he's done that. He's one of the top guys in the whole country, like in the niche of taking an older course and making it up to date for what the modern golfer needs. He's the man, pretty much. But like I see, that's never evolved. That's never grown for him. Like he's reached that mountaintop, but it's like, what's the next mountaintop? And I was thinking about this is like, that's what I got really clear about over the past kind of 2 years, is that my whole life has been about freedom. I want freedom. I was trying to help people find it in their mind and body as a coach and as a fitness professional. And what gave me the liberty to go after real estate was realizing it's the same thing you're helping someone get is what you've always wanted. I'm helping you find freedom now with the different vehicles through your home. And I tell that to every single client I talk to. It's like, it's been always about freedom for me. Now I'm helping you find freedom. And like, who doesn't want to work with someone like that? Like, it's not about numbers. Like, so that's why going back to those clients, they're the second most challenging clients I've had to deal with. And I'll only make
the wealthy guy.
Yeah, I'll only make a few grand on this deal. But it's like, no, like I need to give them the best that I have. And it's not about me, it's about them. And so thinking about like what the bigger vision is for me, it's like I want people to say at the end of like my life to say, because Nate showed me the way, I found freedom myself. That makes me emotional even talking about that, because it's like that's really what it's all about for me. Like, so I don't get caught up in metrics. I don't actually. I was chuckling when you said that. Like, I don't really care because I know my phone's gonna ring and I know I'm gonna do it. And guess what? I'm gonna hit these metrics. So I'm not focused on the
It's gonna happen.
You know, I'm focused on just like what the outcome is of like I'm serving this person high stability, whether that's a $10 million home or a freaking $250,000 condo. You know, because you never know what is gonna come out of that. It's like treat everyone like they're the gatekeeper of your destiny, because you never know what's gonna come from that. But if you're focused on I only got this on my bills and well, how do you show up then? And that comes back to the belief piece, you know? And that's why I guess I'm saying all that to say, like, you have to face that person, that man, that woman in the mirror and deal with your freaking shit. Because if you don't, you're never going to be able to move the needle and go forward the way you're meant to. So I guess it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't deal with that person, you're never going to be able to really become the version you're meant to be.
Yeah. God, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, God, that's so, and it's so hard. And I think that's where, you know, the belief in myself and the owners and where we're at in you and other people that are growing with us, it's like, we can't now, I mean, you have a little more control over the result because you're the one still in the weed of it and you're having these great conversations with clients. But then I'm like, oh man, like I'm going to have to show them how to think like Nate or think like me. And no matter what we do in a classroom setting, I think that's another thing we need to kind of get away from is, you know, not the classes you've taught, but I think like where Gunnar and I are and like all of the things we do to make the agents better. I think that there's too much classroom and not enough action in like if they're going to take time out of their day to show up here, I think that they need to start like they need to be talking the whole time. So I think switching it to like, here's what we're going to go on and boom, 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 we're going to fire off and make each other better. And these are that we all need free throws. We need to start dribbling with our left hand. We need, and all the things that like no one likes to do. Yeah. But when they're going to go and show up to one of these classes, it's, hey, how do you take a Zillow call? How do you say this? How do you say that? What do you do when someone says it this way? What do you do? And they're like, and then we, as coaches, we're just coaching, make them better and better and better so that when they're in the living room, they're not getting hung up on scripting because I think that's where we're at this like this breaking point where they're overthinking the process because they're all they're thinking is, oh my God, I'm not going to be on leads anymore because of these transfers or because of this. The algorithm's going to be off for me and I'm not going to, instead of, you know, like if you and I were to show up to any sporting event we used to do when we were younger, and the whole time we're like, oh God, if I miss the shot, the coach is going to bench you. You're missing that shot because you've said, you're focused on. If I miss this shot, not I'm going to make this fucking shot. Like, I mean, like the handful of like buzzer beaters or last minute things that I went through, I knew I was going to make it before the balls came. I was like, give it to me. I'm making this. Bang. Like I'm not going to miss. I'm feeling good. But every time I was like, what if I miss? What if we don't, it happen? So that's where manifestation's a trip and all that stuff. Like your mind is so powerful. And I think right now in our whole industry, not just B1, is there's so many distractions just falling on everyone with value prop and commission and comp and does do you offer a co-op, and and they're not going in and just learning about Nate and his family. All they're thinking is, how am I going to deliver this broker disclosure to buyer and not fucking get sued? Or you know what I mean?
Well, think about that, bro. Like every time I've gotten in trouble in life, it's when I've been focused on me, what I'm feeling. Like, and that's what ego is. Ego, like, turns that mirror back on you, and it's all about you. But when you're focused on serving someone, then it's not really about that, and it's not a big deal at all.
No.
And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up with, like, I probably was 95% competent in this industry after closing like 6 deals, 8 deals, like meaning like I had the process down. Yeah, there's always nuances that come up. That's where you have to pick up the phone and call somebody. But like, if you're focused on just that, that's what you keep getting. You know, it's like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's what separates people. And I think that's where I think we go to the next level.
Yeah, I think so too.
So like we've been taught what to say, but now it's how you say it.
How you
and that
deliver
goes
it.
right back into belief.
Yep.
Which is a way bigger topic than sitting in a meeting for one hour.
Work.
You know, that's a constant process. And it's like this journey should have a little disclaimer on it, right?
Yeah.
Like as soon as you go down this road never stops.
No.
You can stay on the couch where you're at and make 50, 60 grand a year and be happy and live a little life and be average. But as soon as you say, no, I'm out of this, I'm going to where I know I'm meant to go. And I think we all have that seed in us. It's like, yeah, you're going to do this until you leave this earth.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's no retirement there.
Yeah.
You're constantly doing something. I mean, I think you said it best, and a good way to close this out is the servant mentality. You know, I will serve, I will be of service. You know, the John Wick, you know, like I always thought it was funny in the Wick series, how they all, like, when they were called by the high table, it was like, I will serve, I will be of service. Even though they were serving a totally different master and a very dark side of the world there, I've always had a servant mentality.
Yeah.
I've always been like all my clients. That's probably why when I was doing like luxury and different things, like I'm here for you. Yeah. You need this, you need that. I got you. And I loved it. I love being the person that could get things done for people that made their life easier. Oh, wow, Alex. Oh, man, thank you. You called the moving truck? Yep, they'll be there tomorrow at 10 a.m. just like you wanted. That, like, almost like that secretary mentality. Like, I never got out of that, like the secretary. Yeah. That's what I was as a realtor. I was not this, like, local expert that had these numbers and blah, blah. I was just the person that was going to get you what you wanted so fast.
And that's what separated you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be vulnerable here. Like, the way I killed my porn addiction was every time I had that urge, I would pick up the phone and call someone, or I would make a post about something I was going through, or a mindset or something like that. And that's what literally got me out of that, because guess what? That's all me focused. And I'll give that, I guess maybe we can wrap on this, but a homework assignment is anytime you hear yourself talking about I this, I that, switch it and think about how you can be of service. And that's what starts to get you out of that rut. That was for me, like when I was drinking too much beer, I realized I was craving fizziness. So I switched that and I substituted. And this is a powerful, powerful, habit of substitution theory. So when you identify the negative, flip it and make it a positive in the opposite of what it is. Yeah. And I think that's a great place to start. Like when it's all about that's going to be a lonely road. But as soon as you flip it, start thinking about how you can serve someone, that gets you out of that rut. Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight. That's the other thing. You got to do it repeatedly.
It never ends.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Perfect. Episode 10, Seed Time and Harvest.
Peace.